Hello, everybody. My name's Rick McCutcheon. I'm a Dynamics 365 MVP, and I'm here today on Partner Talks with Mike Biwer from Cavallo. Mike, introduce yourself and tell us all about what you do and Cavallo.
Well, Rick, it's a pleasure to be with you, and hello to your wonderful audience. My name is Mike Biwer. I'm the CEO of Cavallo. Cavallo is an ISV integrated with both GP and Business Central. Our sweet spot, Rick, is serving mid-market product-based brands and distributors with a suite of powerful order management applications. Our mission really, Rick, is to make our customers' businesses massively more profitable and competitive.
And you know what? That's a great mission, Mike. So let's talk about the history of your organization because I think it's very interesting where you came from and where you are today.
Yeah, thanks for asking. We're actually in our 20th year this month, as a matter of fact. The business started with a distributor who invested in GP back in the early 2000s. And he did so knowing that GP was a great foundation, but it wouldn't deliver everything he wanted to sort of fulfill his vision. So he invested in a smart development team, and feature by feature, they built what became SalesPad and is now Cavallo. And it had transformational impacts on his business. He really became a statistical outlier in distribution, ended up selling his business in late 2018 for a premium, and was delivering significant financial gains that are really unheard of, actually, in distribution. As an example, return on assets is a common metric in distribution. His ROA was in the 90% range for years, compared to a median of maybe 7 or 8% for distribution as a whole.
And it's always a great story when you hear somebody who's not really a software person buys a piece of software and says, I can make this better, and then starts to build on top of it. That takes some real initiative.
I agree. And those are my favorite stories for how technology is derived. It comes from those stories where you have a real business problem and somebody solves it with technology. And again, that foundation was GP.
And now I've done some work with your team for MS Dynamics World, and when we start to look at the architecture of your product, it's not just one module that sits on top of GP or Business Central. It's really its own foundation for running a distribution business.
Right. I'm glad you said it that way, because a way that I like to explain or describe our products is I use a pyramid shape because it's easy for our brains to understand. And at the bottom of the pyramid, I would put the ERP there as the foundation. So I like that you said on top of, because I think of the ERP to a business like I think of your operating system to your smartphone. We make the killer apps for distribution that sit on top of GP and now BC. And I think of them, Rick, in 3 layers. The first layer being productivity apps that make things like sales functions, CSRs, much more efficient. So our customers using our software are 2 to 3 times more efficient than they would be just doing that function out of GP. That's pretty significant. So we have customers coming to tell us we grew three times without having to add any headcount. And when you're in a labor-intensive environment, that matters a lot. Moreover, the users happen to be happier. They enjoy the experience. They get trained faster. And when they're more efficient, they can deliver better experiences to their customers as well. So I think that's really important. So that's one layer up, Rick, from the ERP productivity tools. The next is what I would call order management automation. So in this level, we allow our customers to move from a black box world. If you understand distribution, I think you do. Many customers not using technology don't have a great sense of what's happening between the order coming in and the shipment going out. Like, everything in between is sort of a black box. Some people tell me it's a black hole. It's worse than a black box. What we do is we give our users absolute command of every line item and every order, and it's game changing. And the return on investment for our customers here is sometimes 75 to 100 times. Now, that might suggest something about our pricing strategy, which I need to get at, but it's really significant. And at the top of the pyramid, now that I've covered productivity and order management automation, would be what we would call analytics. And this is newer for us, but what we discovered is in SalesPad, our prior product, we still offer this product, we've got a lot of sort of analytics built in, but we don't really surface them as analytics. And that's what we're doing with BC. And we're also going to build this for GP. In distribution, many of these businesses are sitting on a gold mine of data. And oftentimes they don't even know that. And then there are times too when they know it and they don't know how to get at it. And we're going to provide those analytics directly to them. That'll give them insight about their business to make better decisions.
And I think that's really important because traditionally when we work with ERP systems, like getting the right reports for them is always a challenge, right? You're always going back to somebody. Can you write this report? Can you, pull data from a different system? And my CRM sitting over here, my warehouse management is sitting over there. And you end up with these, reports that are very complicated. And by the time they actually publish them, they're out of date, out of time, right? And when I look at your system, it's one source of the truth for what's really running your business.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're always going to have customers that like to do it themselves, who want to, staff the team and build it with tools. And we're fine with that too. But if for those that don't want to build it and add more headcount and so on, that's what we're here for.
Well, I don't know too many customers that want to keep building once they start building, right? Because it
Right.
looks easy, but it's not so easy. So that kind of brings into the conversation Microsoft partners. I know Cavallo is a very partner-friendly organization. So let's talk a little bit how you work with the Microsoft partner ecosystem.
Yeah, in many ways, we exist only because of them. When I think about 80% of our deals, at least over time, came through the channel. And we've got great relationships, I think, with VARs and the SIs and several other ISVs. And many of them were sponsors at our recent user conference a month ago. And as you know, it's a very vibrant, dynamic, collaborative community. It's a very friendly community. And it's what makes a lot of this go around. So it's really important for us to nurture those relationships and evolve those relationships. And again, we wouldn't likely exist without them.
And I think you're kind of in the right place now because, you grew up in the GP world and a lot of those partners are, moving a lot of their business to Business Central and that part of the Microsoft cloud. So, I think the growth in partners is going to be very strong in this, what we call the SMB market.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we're evolving as well. So as you know better than I do, the people that may have been inside of pick a VAR that were working on GP, it may be different people. It likely is different people on the BC side. So in many ways, we're building new relationships and trying to leverage the ones that we have, of course. But we still feel like newbies in the space. So we're frankly grateful for people like you and others that we have good relationships with that help us connect dots. But it's imperative that we continue to do that.
Okay. And talking about new relationships kind of dovetails into next month where we've got the Summit Conference. Actually, this will be released a week before the conference. So tell us about Cavallo at the conference.
Outstanding. Yeah, we're sending a pretty good sized team. We're going to sort of swarm the place, I suppose. We're very excited about it. We've got a very busy schedule. We're looking forward to meeting again and seeing all of our partners and evolving those relationships and expect a really, really great show. I think there's a team of 10 Cavallo colleagues joining me in Charlotte next month.
Okay, well, I'll be glad to see you there and catch up with your team on what's new with Cavallo. Any sort of closing thoughts for this conversation?
Yeah, I'm really excited about, you had asked about sort of what's coming up. And in December is when we're going to launch our new analytics product. And we expect ultimately in next year to be building AI into this tool where advanced visualization and analytics. But imagine being able to say, Ava, can you tell me the 10 customers most at risk of churning next year? Who are they? And Ava spits that back to you. Really, really excited about it. And I think, Rick, in 5 years, when we look back, our analytics product will likely be our number one source of revenue. So I'm really excited about this.
Well, Mike, I think you're moving in the right direction with especially distribution, because there's a lot of unknown data, a lot of unknown sort of buying algorithms that customers are using out there that we're just not aware of. And we can take these AI tools and start to figure it out, and it can really help us with our sales, our marketing, and our retention. So
Exactly.
sounds great. I look forward to seeing them.
Exactly. Great.
Okay, Mike, thanks for your time today, and we'll see you in Charlotte.
Thanks so much for having me, Rick. See you there.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.